All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the System2 podcast. I am joined today by Michael Redd, NBA All Star turned investor. So, Michael, it's an honor having you on here today. Tell me more about you. Who is Michael? What's your story?
Well, Matei, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm really proud of you and what you're doing with the podcast, and it's an honor to be on. Yeah, a little bit about myself, which I'm poor at talking about myself, but I'll give it a shot. Born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, and right in the Midwest, and grew up in a two-parent home. Wonderful family dynamic. My dad was my hero growing up, and what he loved to do the most was play basketball. And as a young child, you kind of gravitate to what your parents are kind of interested into to a degree. And for me, it was following my dad's footsteps as far as playing basketball. And I remember being 2 years old, 3 years old, enamored with the game, and not knowing that it would take me to eventually into the NBA. But I had an incredible childhood, a lot of love in the home. We didn't have much, but we had love, and my parents made intentional effort to make sure that we didn't just have a house, but that we lived in a home. And for me, that was very vital to have a father in the home, and obviously my mother as a nurturer, but having my father be in the home with us and be present with us. And my parents worked hard, and I wound up having a sister as well, younger sister. So we just had an incredible time growing up with a lot of love, and then obviously basketball was a central theme in the home, and kind of grew up wanting to be in the NBA at some point, not knowing that it would actually happen, but as a little child, you have dreams and imaginations of doing extraordinary things, and sometimes it comes to pass. And I was very fortunate to see my dreams come to pass along the way. Grew up in Columbus, Ohio, again, and wound up going to the university that everyone loves, and that is the Ohio State University. And I say that to be facetious, but Ohio State University became a second home to me, and got a great education from there, and then went on to pursue my dreams in the NBA, where I had a 12-year career. I had an extraordinary journey throughout my time in the NBA, a lot of great stories, a lot of great memories, some accomplishments along the way, and uh, and then retired at the age of 32. It's been quite the journey since retirement. To your point, investing along the way, really, really connected to entrepreneurs. There's a magnetism that I've had with entrepreneurs because their journeys are similar to how my journey in life has been, as far as taking bets on themselves and having a certain mindset. And so uh, when I retired, I kind of gravitated to that whole world of investing, and have made a lot of relationships, great relationships. You being one of them along the way. And no, it's been quite the journey. I gave you the summation of the journey, but there's so much more to it.
Yeah, no, I love that overview. Like, take us back to when you were a kid and you said that you saw your dad love to play basketball. Was that something that he was actively like trying to teach you, or were you observing him like watch it or play it, or how did you first realize that he loved basketball so much?
Well, yeah, he played when I was a baby, kid, nowhere professionally, but played recreationally around the city. And then also, he was a high school stud. He's in our Hall of Fame in our high school here locally in Columbus. We went to the same high school. And so he's in the Hall of Fame. And I saw trophies all around the house of things that he had accomplished through basketball. And it served as inspiration for me to want to be like my dad and to eventually supersede what he was able to do, which any father wants their children to do ultimately. So having that around me all the time and having that in my face in a sense of goals, dreams to play this game at a high level was something that was always around me. And I'm so grateful for him because he didn't make me do it at all, actually. In fact, I had a passion for tennis just as much as basketball. And I love the game of tennis. Played it since I was 7 years old up till now even. And so I have an incredible passion for tennis. But I wound up growing and hitting the genetic lottery along the way because my parents are short, and grew and grew and grew. And my skills allowed me to pursue the dream of being an NBA. But my dad was certainly a source of inspiration um, along the way.
What did he coach you? Like what kind of things did you learn from your dad about being a basketball player, but more broadly about being a man and everything that you've done since?
Yeah, I think my dad was my coach, mentor, teacher when it comes to life, obviously, but also within basketball. And so, yeah, I think one of the things that he instilled in me was to honor and respect people, live in humility, never think too highly of yourself, be respectful of every individual that you encounter in life. And that's such a superpower, such a gift to make everyone that you encounter feel really important. And so that's something I saw my mother and father do all through our growing up. And they are highly respected nationally, internationally because of how they treat people and how they honor people. So that's one of the things, hallmarks of my parents' parenting of me was to be able to respect people and to honor people. And that's true, I think, in every sector, right? Business is about people. Athletics is about people. And so that was a central thing for me in the transition of life is to surround myself with people that are brilliant people, smart people, kind, who have character, ethics, all of those things. And I think that was something that they always have instilled in me is to be able to surround yourself with quality people, but also at the same time treating every individual with the utmost respect.
You know what I think is like really interesting is how you mentioned that like your dad was not trying to actively push you into basketball or in any direction. And when you were talking about how your parents were as people, it seems like a lot of it is them leading by example, right? It's not that they're trying to get you to do X, Y, and Z, but you just see them being that way, and that ends up being more just more practical than kids now too when you try to tell them things, and it's not harder to get them to do stuff than you'd think. And yet I've heard this before as well. It's like it's sometimes something that's not even said. It's like you just see how happy basketball makes your dad, and you're like, wow, there's got to be something there. It doesn't even need to tell me about it. Like I just see it in him that this is something that I should also pay attention to. And yeah, the same thing about like how they treat people. So I'm curious, like, yeah, like how much of it was like them leading by example versus like them actively like sitting you down and teaching you all these things.
Yeah, I really believe that some things are caught and not taught. And to your point, the visuals that I was able to always have around me was of love and of honor of people. And I just saw my parents were able to give whatever they could away to help people. They were able to serve people, even till now in their 70s. They're still serving people and helping people. So by not, but not by not any means are they perfect, but I would say that they lived a life where they gave to help the human condition. And I saw that growing up as a child. And the natural instinct, proclivity is to be able to help people, serve people. And when I played basketball, it was an opportunity to be a role model to kids all around the world. It was an opportunity to be philanthropic and give back, pay it forward to different foundations and things of that nature. And so, again, I think the central theme in my whole life is how to help the human condition, how to help people, serve people. I would say even build ladders rather than climb ladders. And so that's something that was kind of caught beyond just being taught.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, tell us a little bit more about your NBA career. It's obviously it's super hard to get into. Sounds like it was your childhood dream since you're 2, 3 years old, and then you made it. Like, what were you thinking when you got in, when you started playing, when you started being among the people that you used to watch on TV? What was that experience like?
It was surreal. I'm a big believer in vision and mindset. And I think whatever you resonate with has to manifest itself. And I remember being 7 years old, watching the NBA on television and telling my parents that I would be there one day. And they didn't make fun of it. They encouraged it. They said, sure. And obviously, there's a better chance of being struck by lightning than making it to the NBA. But I had vision, and vision is powerful. And vision along the way had governed the decisions of my life. I was able to avoid certain traps and certain distractions in life because of the vision that was hanging over my head. If I want to get here, I have to make decisions now that get me to where I want to get to. And so when I finally got to the NBA, it was a dream come true. I believe in some reality, our dreams are more reality than our reality is. And I always encourage young leaders and people in general to be able to dream as big as possible. There are no limits. And so that was a portion for me that carried me throughout my whole life, being a visionary, being a big dreamer, being extremely optimistic, and not being able to be denied. And when I got to the NBA, it was something that was incredible, but also in the back of my mind, I knew this was supposed to happen, type of thing. And was very fortunate to get drafted. 12-year NBA career. I was able to be an All-Star, All NBA performer. Was able to go to the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. I was a part of the Redeem team that just got inducted into the Hall of Fame, Naismith Hall of Fame, coming up in September. Very proud of that achievement and that team of winning gold back in Beijing in 2008. So all of that experience was such a surreal moment of my life. It went by fast, but to this day, I always share with people that you have to pinch me because it was all a dream.
Wow. What so from I mean, it sounds obviously, amazing, and you had these experiences both, like, in the NBA and then in the Olympics, and to your point, at some point, it ends. Our bodies can only take so much, as young as we sometimes feel we are, we're definitely getting older. How's that transition for you, leaving the NBA? What were you thinking? Did you have a plan? What happened next?
I believe in flow in life. Things happen for a reason. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen. For me, I don't know. I think to your point, the game does end, and I was okay with that. I had two major injuries towards the end of my career that kind of was a catalyst into me now retiring and doing what I'm doing now. But I would say that, I don't know, I would say this transition is not the issue in life. I think adjusting to transition is the issue in life. And basketball was always something that I did. It was never who I was. And I think that's an important aspect. Now, did I mourn the transition? Absolutely, because it was something that I did my whole entire life. And now it's over. There is a mourning that you have to go through. But the beautiful thing about it is that this experience in the NBA, in my mind at that time, said was this could be the springboard into something greater. And so, if it becomes your identity, if it becomes who you are, then what more do you have to look forward to? And for me, I always appreciated and honored it, but it was not the crescendo. It wasn't the end all be all. I knew there was some greater things and greater experiences to come behind this incredible experience of playing in the NBA. And so I had to flip the chapter of life into another chapter in my life and had to adjust now to transitioning. And that is, it's not the easiest. There's nuances to it, but I think if you do the work, the personal work along the way, it can help make the transition much more easier.
On that point, and we were at that event in LA, and there was some the panel that was about like sports investing, and I remember there was a question that was asked by a current athlete about who's already thinking about his transition, and part of the response was like, okay, like, do you need to start planning that in advance while you're still playing? Or does that distract you from being the best basketball player that you can be? And then, okay, I'll deal and I'll focus on what happens next later versus starting to like hedge your bets while you're still there. How do you feel about that? Like, not necessarily just about like basketball, but in life, like going super deep on one thing versus starting to diversify a little bit and trying to hedge.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple ways to approach it. I think you can do both. This time, obviously, um, athletes are more savvier than ever when it comes to business. I still believe in the notion to a degree that there has to be a deep focus on where you're at because the greater the player you become, the greater opportunities follow. I think having different opportunities and focusing on different opportunities won't necessarily dilute your performance, but on the safe side, I think focusing on your career and being the best you could be will open up incredible doors post career. I think before you plan on transitioning, you have to plan on having an understanding of who you are at that point in your life. So your brand is a secondary consequence of identity, knowing who you are. And obviously the buzzword the last 10 years has been brand, brand, brand. But I think it's important to be able to have self awareness, time in solitude to understand who you really are at this time in your life. When I retired, I was 32 years old. When I came into the NBA, I was 20. Different human being, different person, different journeys along the way, different experiences. And so I had to reevaluate who I was at that point in my life. And then from that point, begin to understand what I'm called to do, what I want to do, and then find the people to do it with. So, who am I? What am I called to do? What am I mandated to do? What I have a passion for? And then who to do it with. And I think those are three important questions to be able to ask yourself in the midst of transition.
Talk to me about that last piece about the people around you. And I was talking to someone who was a an athlete in college, and she now works in investing. And the point that one of the points that she was making was that in the professional world, it is very much about the individual. Like at the end of the year, there's analyst rankings, and you want to be number one, and that means that your colleague sitting next to you can't be number one as well. And versus like when you're on a team, like yes, there's a little bit of individual like rivalry, but it is much more about that team succeeding. I'm curious, like what you've seen when you transition from sports at the highest level, and then you get into business, and what are some of the parallels, but what are things that are very different?
It's a great question. I think team is essential. I was incubated my whole life into being into team sports, and I'm a huge proponent of team. I don't want to be right. I want us to be right, if that makes sense. And a lot of times you see within companies, particularly the disease of I. Yeah, one of the things I learned about the business world is that it's similar to the professional world of sports when it comes to teams. Teams are vital, and I am a team player, and so I invest into teams. And I think it's important not to have the lone genius syndrome where that you're the smartest person in the room. If that's the case, then you probably have to exit that room and go into another room. But I think it's important to know that the theme of any team is that we are right more so than I'm being the one that's right. And so there was a lot of cross pollination between the athletic world and the business world. And I think one of the great equalizers in all of this, or great things that are paralleled, is teams.
And how have you actually seen that in practice in the things you've done after the NBA? Like, do you feel like, I mean, to just ask it bluntly, like, have you come across another team in the business world that rivals a professional sports team that you've been on?
Components, for sure, components. It's going to be hard to rival the 2008 Olympic team, uh, but it can be done though. It certainly can be done. But I see components and elements of great teamwork within certain companies. I think I don't know. I just think it's important to have the right team in place, meaning that everyone knows their role. Everyone has ownership within the dynamic as well. When you have ownership within it, it makes the company, makes the entity flourish, and there's just a culture derived from that. So culture, incredible crossover from the athletic world to the business world. Culture starts at the top, and if you're not paying attention to your culture, then you probably have a bad one. Culture is the leadership, and having been a leader in the athletic world, now over into the business world, I think it's important to be able to establish the right culture, which is service, continuity, chemistry, joy. Do I enjoy being around you every single day? I think those are all nuances and the very important aspects to building a successful company and obviously having a successful team along the way. And so there's a lot of crossover from what I experienced in basketball to what I'm doing now.
When you think about culture and you listed some of those traits, what happens when inevitably one of the teammates does not like doesn't hold up their end of the bargain, or they're slipping on one of these criteria? How do you get people back in line? How do you inspire people? How do you get them to be the best they can be?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was asked a question a few years ago. I was at Yale speaking to their young entrepreneurs and young professionals. And the question was posed to me, how do you motivate your team? And I said, I don't really spend time motivating the team because we try to hire motivated people. So you don't have to waste time or spend time trying to motivate people, inspire people when you have inspired, motivated people already within the team. And that's something that I had learned from playing in the NBA. It was a privilege to play in the NBA. It was a privilege to put on that uniform every day to play at the highest level. So we shouldn't waste time or spend time motivating you to do your job at a high level because you're on the biggest stage in the world. And I see the business world in the same regards of really bringing on and partnering with people who are motivated, inspired. I think one of the great things that I could ever do as a leader is bring inspiration to our team and bring motivation. And so that's an element of culture that I appreciate.
I love that point. You want to have a certain caliber of people on the team to begin with that you don't need to teach them the fundamentals. Like there's certain things that are really hard to teach, and that's something that you screen for when you're looking to bring someone on and not try to fix after the fact. That's an interesting point. Tell me more about what you're doing, or what you have been doing since then on the investing side, on the entrepreneurship side. How do you spend your time?
I spend my time, say, investing in people, not companies. I found that it's important to invest in the leadership more than a product. And I really have a passion for the person that runs the company because there's not too much attention paid to the actual entrepreneur, the CEO, the leadership team. And for me, it's important for them to be able to have an element of health, spiritually, physically, mentally, holistically, because the healthier the team, the healthier the product, the healthier the business, I believe. And so there certainly is, I think, credence to that. The last 10 years, I've been angel investing and helping entrepreneurs. There's a lot of crossover from the athletic world to the business world, mentoring a lot of young leaders. I was a partner with Snap in their incubator program, Yellow, which was great, great program at the time. I was able to sit on the board and Redbox for a number of years before they became public. Great experience there. I sit on the National Advisory Board for the Salvation Army. I've done that for 5 years now. Tremendous honor, tremendous responsibility with that organization. We started 22 Ventures about 5 years ago now, and that's been an incredible journey working with the companies that we have in our portfolio. And then became a partner with Advantage Sports Tech Fund, which is led by Jeremy Pressman and Alex Bente. It's a fund that is derived from the Adidas family. The Adidas family wanted to continue the legacy of Adi Dassler and being the leaders in sports innovation. And so they started a fund many years ago, and I became a partner 6 years ago in that fund. And now we're in our second fund now, which has been a great journey working with them.
What do you see in terms of sports innovation? What are some of the cool companies coming out in that sector?
I think personally, the technology behind elongating the careers of athletes. My career was cut short because of injury. But because of technology, we have the ability to predict injury. And through optimal tracking, through AI, leaps and bounds compared to when I played, as far as the ability to recover from injury, but also to be preventative from injury. So I have a natural bias towards seeing athletes be optimized with their careers as long as possible. And technology is allowing these athletes to do so with wearables, AR technology, VR technology. So there's so much going on in that space when it comes to the elongating of athletes' careers, and it's fun to see.
I know you have to run to your daughter's event, which going back to the parenting, I think that's it's a very important topic to pass that on to future generations. But before I let you go, you talk a lot about betting on yourself as a philosophy. Like, tell me more about that.
I think you are the secret to your success, your mindset, your approach, and allowing your subconscious to dominate your perspective and prism on life. A lot of times we have what I call the racial consciousness, which is the embodiment of lack, separation, limitation, and fear dominate our decision making, our ability to take risk. And I think there has to be a level of mindset that allows you to operate enough confidence, enough courage to take the bet on yourself and dare to go where no one wants to go. And that is sometimes requiring of you to be an enigma of sorts and to stand out and to be different. So yeah, I found that certainly people are part of the equation of your success and your achievements, but you have to be able to take risk and take bets on yourself. There's a great story that was told to me many years ago about if you're living on the edge, then you're probably taking up too much real estate. And I think that's an incredible quote because now I say this with humility. You have to take risks with humility. But I think there's something to be said about taking the risk on yourself and betting on yourself and having self-belief that you have the ability and capability to do extraordinary things. So you just have to be able to train your mindset to believe that you can do that, that you are that.
Is there something that you're currently betting on yourself for? Is there something that you're working on?
Yeah, I think there's a company that I co-founded a couple of years ago. It's called Athlete Apps. You know about this. I'm usually on the other side of the pitch table, looking at pitches and talking to folks all the time about their companies, but then I jumped on the other side of the table and became a co-founder of a company. And the company really wants to help athletes and influencers continue to extend their brand beyond their game, their career in perpetuity with being able to own their own brand. In essence, we build apps for athletes and influencers. It allows them to be able to own their own data, their content, and allows them to be able to make money in perpetuity after their career ends. And a lot of times, I've seen a lot of athletes fade into the sunset without the ability to be able to monetize off their brand after their career ends. And in essence, they become a distressed asset, unfortunately. And so this company allows the athlete to continue to extend their brand, monetize their brand, have direct access to their fans, and be able to own their content, own their algorithm, own their data. And I think it's revolutionary for the brand that they have. And so yeah, that's a big bet that I'm betting on myself with this company, and so far so good, but yet it's still a bet though.
No, it's a really interesting idea around ownership of your intellectual property, of your data, the thing that you're building, so that part of the reason why entrepreneurs want to be entrepreneurs instead of employees is that as an entrepreneur building equity in a business, ultimately in yourself, that then can live on beyond your retirement or your even your capabilities at some point, and to be able to allow others to do that, especially in the in these more fickle worlds of like influencing or even sports, I think is really interesting. I'm curious. I was actually talking to Zach, who's the co-founder of a company called Overtime. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they focus on young athletes. They opened up, and it's particularly like in basketball, and they built a stadium in Atlanta. It's actually a really cool company, and they basically get the kids in high school and provide, and they've created an entire like media company around this. But there may be synergies to get some of these kids thinking about that aspect of their career early on, so that they can start compounding these fans and to compound the experiences, that they become even more valuable over time. Because that is something that I've also seen more broadly in social media, is that just like money, it compounds, right? Like this fame, this attention can compound, and if you start early enough and you own it, that could produce some really interesting long term results.
1,000%. The younger, the better. We built apps for high school athletes, and it really is teaching them business at a young age, marketing and branding at a young age. And you never know what's going to happen with the social media platforms, what's going to happen with X in a year, what's going to happen with TikTok. So even if those social media platforms fade away, the one constant could be your own hub, which is your own app. And so it's a powerful marketing tool to be able to go to the app store and see your name and see your app in the app store, which is global too at the same time. So yeah, it's a powerful tool, and I think it is time for athletes and influencers to be able to think ownership more than just an endorsement opportunity or a piece of the pie. I want to be able to own the whole pie. And I think the modern athlete is more conscientious of that.
I love these kinds of entrepreneurship stories that are built on obviously an idea, but it's more importantly, it's built on your own experience and your learnings along the way, and trying to get other people to avoid some of the mistakes or to do certain things better. And that's ultimately like what entrepreneurship is about, right? Identifying these problems and being able to pass on those secrets to other people. So no, I think it's exciting to what comes next from you, and I'm excited to check out all these cool new apps that you guys are developing.
It's fun. It's fun, Matei. And I would love to get hooked up with Zach to talk more about what we're doing and get those young athletes connected to what we're doing with the app company. But it's been a pleasure knowing you over the last year or so, and we are a part of a very special group, as you know, and I love the group because the group that we're connected to, the Spark community, begins to have a greater seek about themselves when it comes to purpose. And there's nothing transactional about our time together. It's really a refreshing group to be around, and very very grateful to Rahalea and the team for allowing us to have a space to be able to share, be vulnerable, and transparent about our journeys as an entrepreneur, as leaders. And it's just a great time. So it's been a pleasure to know you and meet you.
No, likewise, and you and I have had this conversation before. It is not lost on me how lucky and privileged I am to be part of such groups and to meet people like you. And it is definitely not how I grew up. And it is, yeah, it's such an awesome thing to be able to be surrounded by people that are ambitious, doing cool things, and to be able to play my role in that. So, kind of to your point about being part of the team, like finding a good team, good people, and bringing each other up is amazing. So, Michael, it's been awesome talking to you today. I appreciate your time. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Matei. I appreciate you, buddy. I look forward to seeing you soon too.